Hi everyone, and welcome to the October community call for the Internet of Production Alliance. I'm Andrew, I'm the chair of the Alliance, and very excited to be able to join you all for this update today, because we're going to be talking a little bit about our plans for 2024. And I'm 41 years old, and I could not get my head around the idea of there being such a year as 2024. It sounds so far into the future. It sounds so futuristic. You know, I grew up on films like Blade Runner, which I think was set in 2012 or something, or 2020 maybe, or 2001: A Space Odyssey, and the sequels, is it 2010, the year we made Contact, and things like that. We are finding other forms of intelligence at the moment. A lot of it is artificial, but there are early signs of life in other parts of the universe. But what we're going to be talking about today is how we transition, how we complement the current paradigm of production that we've had for the last 200 years with a new paradigm of production that should get us through the next couple of centuries, the distributed and decentralized production that we hope to enable with the Internet of Production. So thank you all for joining. The session today is really rather informal. We are hoping to have a discussion with you, but we'll start with some updates about 2023 and what we're working on. I'll tell you some of the ideas of what we're already doing for 2024, or what we've already got in mind for 2024, or even submitted funding requests for 2024. And then I want to open that up for ideas and to have your inputs into what we might want to do, what you might want us to do, or you might want to do with us or with the Alliance next year, including things that you might need funding for, because I'm in a fundraising mode at the moment. So let's get started with some quick introductions. Jessica, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you. So for those who don't know me, I'm Jessica Ngema. I'm half French, half Gabonese. I'm based in Copenhagen, Denmark. I work for the Internet of Production Alliance as project manager on the MAKE project, which is an EU funded project, and on the IMA project, Innovative Manufacturing in Africa project, which is funded by RISA and the UK government. And this is my introduction. Happy to join the call today.
Thanks, and then we'll go to Sarah, and then Antonio, and then Max to introduce the team. Sarah.
Hello, everybody. For those of you who haven't met me before, I'm Sarah Hutton. I work with the Internet of Production Alliance as the Research and Community Engagement Lead. I'm based in Amherst, Massachusetts. That's about a little over 2 hours west of Boston. I also have a faculty appointment at the University of Massachusetts Amherst as in their public policy department. I work on the RISA project, the MAKE project, as well as other research and development initiatives. And I'm going to pass it on to Antonio.
Thanks, Sarah.
Hi, everyone. Nice to see you again. I'm DevOps for the IOPA, and I'm in Mexico, in the very south, in Chiapas state. And in between other things, when I'm working on data constantly, I work also in rapid prototyping for that. And right now, I'm in the odyssey of building CNC machines here, and it's very nice meeting you today. I would like to name Max.
Max, are you able to
introduce?
Hi.
My camera. Hi, everyone. I'm Max. I've been working with the IOPA as the technical coordinator or the technical lead. So working on basically anything to do with the technical infrastructure and sort of technical aspects of the tooling and standards that we've been working on.
Thanks, Max. And that's the team. We don't have Barbara with us at the moment. She's been off for a little while. She'll be back with us later this week. And we have a couple of people who've been involved in internet of production here on the team. Alex, your recent work on the next steps of the open know-how protocol. We'll come on to that in a moment, if we may, and introduce yourself then. But then one of the things we do on these calls is that we take shared notes. So things that are important to everybody can be noted down. That's the link, and I think the link to the notes Jessica has put into the chat as well. So please feel free to introduce yourselves on there and to make any points that you want us to make note of, particularly when we get into the discussion section, but also to anything that's important to you that you want to refer back to. Okay, a few updates from us. We want to tell you a little bit about what's been going on in 2023 or since the last community call, before we move on to 2024. A big thing for us as a team is that we have completed our work on a grant that basically brought this initiative into existence from the Alfred P. Sloan Foundation. We've finished that work, and this is quite an exciting package of activities that we've been working on, and it's basically all been around developing a family of standards, or at least scoping a family of standards that would enable, that would form the basis of an internet of production. So sometimes I like to think of it as rather grandly as trying to scope or understand and test and develop the ideas, the internet of production equivalent of TCP/IP for the internet or web protocol, or whatever it may be. And the main outcomes from that have been some tooling around the open know-how standard to make it more portable. That's with additional support from another donor, the Next Generation Internet Fund, a fund called DAPSI. Antonio mentioned the map of machines in his introduction, map.internetofproduction.org. There's an infrastructure there and various initiatives to increase, to create a map of the world's machines. We've also done some scoping with Alex's help on electronics components, and Sarah has worked on a people and skills standard, and we are wrapping up the arrangement, a couple of consultancies that we've had on contracting, on distributed contracting and distributed contracts as well. So that's it's quite a big package of work. It was quite an ambitious project, and now we're thinking about what we might do next, and we're going to be talking about that in the call today. Alex, do you want to briefly introduce yourself? Sorry to pounce this on you, but I know you're good at this. Do you want to briefly introduce yourself and say a little bit about the open know-how interoperability interactivity scoping report that you did, please?
Yeah, sure. Firstly, can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
I was invited to draft a scoping report with Julian Sterling following a conversation we had in Hamburg, to essentially address the issue of a lack of clear definition of what we mean by interactivity, and then following from that, how would we then, at least in principle, go about implementing that? And I think, based on the conversations that we've had, the outcome of that scoping report was more about maybe realigning the definition of interactivity as being kind of all projects being able to be completely interchangeable between all platforms, moving from that kind of model towards a more kind of targeted, specific, and enhanced portability of certain data types between certain platforms, and just kind of realigning that vision a bit. So yeah, that was a report that Julian and I worked on. Also, for those of you who don't know me, I am an industrial designer. My studio is called Alex Kimber Design, and I've been working with Internet of Production on a couple of research projects from, as Andrew mentioned, electronic components and materials and components.
Thanks, Alex, and thanks for your work on that project. We're glad to have had that scoping done. And we'll be having an upcoming call, one of these community calls will sort of be a retrospective on that project, I think, going into trying to summarize all of the different bits of work that we've done. We've had some in-depth discussions, say, on the people and skills standard in previous community calls. We want to sort of give an overview of that whole project in an upcoming call. We have a project that Jessica is managing called the Innovative Manufacturing in Africa project. This is working with makerspaces, 3 makerspaces in Ghana, in Kenya and South Africa. And we've been doing a couple of distributed manufacturing trials, and we're in the process of collecting data. We've developed some impact indicators for makerspaces, and now we're collecting data to share on those. So it's quite a busy month for us in November, as we actually move to the last month of implementation of that project, and then we do an evaluation and reporting during December. Jessica, is there anything you'd like to share on that project in particular? I know you've just been doing some reporting to the donor on it.
Yes, thank you. Yes, no, this is really like, so we work with 9 makerspaces in Africa, like Andrew said, 3 in Ghana, 3 in Kenya, and 3 in South Africa. This has been a very interesting project so far. We have really learning a lot through the distributed manufacturing trial that we are running. There's more info also on the community from the IOP, when you can follow also all the activities we are running in this project on the makerspace impact indicators, or for the trial of distributed manufacturing. I know some of you have participated in the discussion of what type of product we should be producing during this project. Thank you all. And I know also there's some people who are here who participate to this project. So yeah, if you have any question, feel free to reach out to me or send a message or put a message on the forum about this project. Thank you.
Thanks, and we've got our email address at on the last slide of this presentation, so you can get that at the end of the meeting. A particular highlight for me this month, if I may say so, is that because of the Innovative Manufacturing in Africa project, I was able to attend the AfriLabs gathering for the first time. It took place in Kigali in Rwanda, and I was able to, well, there were some travel problems, but I was able to basically gather everyone who was in attendance at that conference who was related to makerspaces, and really trying to push the idea that the AfriLabs movement, which is quite well supported in policy circles and donor circles, should be more engaged with the maker movement and have more space for the maker movement. So we're hopeful that in the next AfriLabs gathering in Cape Town next year, that we might see a higher profile given to makerspaces. But we were able to have a makerspaces session at the AfriLabs gathering on the main stage. And I was delighted that Joseph, who's on the call with us today, Joseph was able to represent the African Makerspace Network at that conference. Joseph, do you want, I know I'm picking on you suddenly, but is there anything you want to say about the African Makerspace Network? I've got the policy work on the next slide, so I can say something about that. But is there anything you'd like to say about AMN or about the AfriLabs gathering, please?
Thank you very much, Andrew. Yeah, so Makerspace, or African Makerspace Network, is basically an organization that brings together all makerspaces in Africa with the intention of creating collaboration among makerspaces, and also be able to share ideas and come together on work on projects that will not only sit at the prototype stage, but move ahead to the scalable position where it can be used for local innovation within Africa and the communities that they function. So the idea of Africa makerspace is to ensure that all makerspaces within the region of Africa are able to coordinate with one another to ensure that there is innovative impact within the community they function. Yeah, I think during the Afro Labs gathering, it was really good that we were able to go there because there are lots of Africa makerspaces that were part of the program. And one thing was that even though there are several makerspaces, having to know one another is a big challenge because they don't know each of the makerspaces. And sometimes you get to a point when interacting with them, realize that some may need ideas, collaborations to be able to improve upon what they do. So it was a great opportunity that Andrew and I went there so that we can be able to collaborate with all makerspaces in Africa to support the work that they do in their community.
Thanks, Joseph. And yeah, I mean, the whole point about the Innovative Manufacturing in Africa project is that it's taking the thesis that makerspaces are the hubs of the new paradigm of production, or could play a role as hubs of new paradigm of production. The theme of the project is to try and work out what needs to be put in place to help makerspaces be more financially sustainable, financially viable, if not also financially sustainable. And so the distributed manufacturing trials are part of that. How do they make money by making things? But also the impact indicators, being able to make the case for public and grant funding. But one of the things we were able to explore in the project is roles for makerspaces in quality control, in membership management, understanding skills that are in the region, and we've got some updates shortly about what we might be doing with that project next year if the funding gets renewed. The Make project is going well. This is a consortium project funded by the Horizon program in Europe. It's called African and European Maker Ecosystems. And we have Ricardo here from the Global Innovation Gathering, one of our partners. We have Joseph here from AMN, who you've just heard from, one of our partners. We're partnered with other organizations such as the African Open Science Hardware Group, APSHOA, the Fab City Network, Green Tech. There's a bunch of different partners involved. And yeah, we'll do a more, there's plenty of meetings around that. If you want to find out about that project, I think, Jessica, if you could put the link to the website in the chat, please, and you can sign up to the newsletter there. A couple of updates on our organization. Well, I'm happy to tell you that there's been some developments here after what has been a bit of a difficult year of doing some workarounds. So first of all, we were able to get some in-kind support from an absolutely wonderful strategic communications consultancy. And I don't mind saying that they're absolutely wonderful, because I've worked with various consultancy firms over the years, and this was one of the best experiences I've ever had. They're called Profit, and they've helped us to develop a new brand, a new logo, and new strategic, positioning, communications, language, and style that we will be rolling out for the Internet of Production, the Alliance, and some of our organizations as well. And I mean, I'm desperate to show it to you all because I'm really excited about it. I think it looks really, beautiful, but also, I think it's going to be very powerful for us. What we're trying to do is figure out an appropriate way to launch it, perhaps through an event, or whether that's in person or online, and work out when in the new year we're going to switch over to the new design of the website and so on. So we'll be rolling out the new brand later in the year, but the work has been completed on that, and I'm very grateful to Profit for doing such a large amount and such good pro bono support for us there. The Internet of Production has a home now. What we've done is we have taken over a registered charity. We've renamed Field Ready UK, which was a charity that wasn't being used. It was my previous organisation, Field Ready, charity that wasn't being used, and we've renamed it Internet of Production UK. And we did that basically because registering in the UK, which is where I live and where Max lives, registering a new organisation takes absolutely ages at the moment. So it was easier to convert one than to create one. We have been going through a series of changes on the trustee board. We have 3 trustees at the moment. We have Stuart Davis, who's been with us for quite some time. He runs an international finance accountancy firm specializing in the non-profit sector, and is an expert in the kind of funding that we receive. We have Dr. Lucia Corsini, who some of you may know from this community, who's been quite active in academic research around local manufacturing in the maker movement, particularly in developing countries. She's at Brunel University, not far from me here in London. And we have Christina Rebel, who is one of the co-founders and one of the senior team members at Wikifactory. There's a number of trustees who've stood down recently for various reasons, including end of term, but also emerging conflicts of interest because of potential future funding opportunities. So I'd like to thank Professor Paul Sherlock, and I'd like to thank Ben Britton, who've been on that board as well, helping to get us all set up. Now we've got a couple of team updates. So let's start first. If I can go to you, Jessica, you've got some news to share with us.
Yes. So I will be taking my maternity leave from November 28th until mid-May. So I will miss you all. I won't see you for a couple of months, but I will be back in 2024. I leave you all the project initiative and ideas with the IOP, and I am looking forward to see you again next year. But I'm still here until the end of the month, so if anything, you can contact me. So that's my big news. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica, and congratulations on your second baby. And
thank you.
We hope your maternity leave. Yeah. We hope your maternity leave is comfortable and everything goes well for you and your family. Barbara Shack will be hopefully back with us this week, and what's going to happen is that Barbara will be stepping down from the role of the Internet of Production Alliance coordinator and taking over the project management of the MAKE project. So we'll be dedicated, focused on that one project, which is currently something that Jessica manages for us, at least for a few months until Jessica returns. The project management of the Writer project will come to me, at least for the last month, and then we'll work out what to do if it gets renewed next year. Max and I are working on very reduced hours at the moment, as the Sloan Foundation project has come to an end, and as we're waiting for the MAKE project to transfer over to the new charity here in the UK. Is there anything else I should be saying on the team? I think that's about it for now. We may be doing some recruitment as the MAKE project kicks in. There's 1 or 2 potential roles that we are hoping to squeeze into the budget. We will let everybody know if we're able to do that. It'll be decided in the coming month before Jessica leaves, but it might be around more work on the mapping. It might be around some work on distributed contracting. And there may be consultancies rather than roles. We'll see. We'll get that confirmed before Jessica leaves on the 28th of November. Great. That's quite a lot to update on. We're halfway through the meeting. Just want to quickly plug some work that Joseph is doing at the African Makerspace Network, where he's looking for, he's been doing lots of interviews and focus group discussions about policies around the makerspace, around makerspaces in Africa and in Europe, in both of the continents that are involved in the MAKE project, looking to develop policy positions and policy ideas, policy suggestions that potentially we could take to the AFRILabs gathering next year, or we use to engage with policymakers. AMN is now looking for 30-minute one-to-one interviews. So if you have ideas around policy suggestions that would help the maker movement in Africa and Europe, that you think that need to be captured, that need to be shared with the world, please use that link that's on the screen. That's, I think, Calendly link from Fredo, who's from Fab City Foundation. But she and Joseph will be booking interviews with people on there. So please, if you're interested in contributing to some policy positions, please let us know. In the UK, one of the things I'm in the process of organising is input into the government's national inquiry into the COVID-19 crisis. I'm looking to, the government is doing a public call for input into the inquiry. You might see, if you're in the UK, you might see posters at train stations and adverts on TV and so on. But I'm looking to input into the maker movement response and the local manufacturing response to the COVID inquiry. So if you're interested in that, or if you were involved in making PPE during the COVID response here in the UK, please get in touch with me. So 2024. We have two sections here. I'll quickly run through some of the early plans that we have. At the moment, nothing is confirmed. We have lots of funding bids in or going in, but this is, I'm going to be describing to you what the plan is. And then hopefully over the next couple of months, November and December, we'll actually get some news and some contracts signed. The year will solidify a little bit. But I want to quickly tell you a little bit about what we're doing with the MAKE project. We're doing a few different deliverables of the MAKE project. Mapping machines in makerspaces across Africa and Europe. We want to create a map of all of the makerspaces in the two continents and all of the machines they have inside them. We're developing a maker passport. This is something that Sarah's spoken about in previous community calls, to help recognize the skills as an indicator of quality of what can be made locally, the skills of makers, and also to help maker mobility as makers move from one makerspace to the other. And we're looking at a distributed contracting system. So we'll be taking some of the trials that we've been doing and the learning we've been gathering from the Innovative Manufacturing in Africa project to roll that out into the MAKE project and trying to do contracting across both continents. So it's going to be an exciting year for the MAKE project. That is currently looking to wrap up in January 2025. And one of my big plans, at least for 2024, is to find funding that can keep that community together and or focus on particular elements of that project and scale it up. So we're looking to renew that funding somehow. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I should say on MAKE. I think keep an eye out for some events where we'll be having some gatherings, including in Berlin at the Republica gathering, the Global Innovation Gathering, get together in around the same time as Republica. But I think there might also be some face-to-face meetings, but like I say, you can go onto the Make Project website and sign up to the newsletter. We have submitted a bid to the National Science Foundation in the United States, something that they call POSE, the Platform for Open Source Ecosystems. This was a major piece of work. I'm grateful to my colleague Sarah for her assistance in this, and our colleagues at the University of Massachusetts in Amherst, who are the lead applicants on the bid. What we're looking to do is to separate out some of the things we've been doing over the last 2 or 3 years, separating out the work on the community and the ecosystem, the enabling environment, from the content, because we've been doing both at once for the last couple of years with the same pot of funding. We're now trying to separate them out a lot more, and I'll come on to the tools and the content of the Internet of Production a bit more. What I'm talking about now is the open source ecosystem around the Internet of Production. So it's more like the process, and it's the community, it's the governance. So we've pitched an idea that the Internet of Production represents the emergence of a new type of commons, something that hasn't really existed in manufacturing before. Well, ever since the Industrial Revolution, I should say. Because of the nature of manufacturing, traditional manufacturing has been capital intensive, and you need to be able to make your money back. It has tended to be quite a closed sector, very proprietary sector. But what we're seeing is the emergence of new manufacturing technologies, platforms, and software systems that are licensing structures that are opening that up. So we can begin to potentially think of manufacturing as having a commons for the first time. So we've partnered with the University of Massachusetts at Amherst and the International Association for the Study of the Commons to really look at the idea of manufacturing as a commons. And to that end, we're proposing a series of events with them to look at these themes and to try and figure out ways that you can govern, shape, and collaborate in this new commons, in this new paradigm, by learning from other areas. And one of the things, there's going to be quite a big investment in governance. We've had some small investments in 2023 in terms of time and money trying to work on governance. We've had an awful lot of volunteer input into the governance of the Internet of Production Alliance and the technologies, the standards that we're putting together. But we're really looking to invest in the governance of the Alliance. Sarah, is there anything else you want to add to that? Because I know you've been quite involved in making that bid happen.
Oh, sorry, is that because you saw me typing in the chat? No, just in brief, bringing folks' attention to what I dropped into chat. There's a link to the International Association for the Study of the Commons. And the other thing I wanted to mention is that the other colleague at the University of Massachusetts Amherst, Dr. Charlie Schweik, who is the other he's my co-PI on the bid, is somebody that I've been working with for over a decade, who is very well versed and experienced in OSS, open source software, governance, commons. He studied with Eleanor Ostrom, who provided the foundation upon which this international organization for the study of the commons is based. And we had the opportunity this summer to attend their annual gatherings. Every other year is in person. This past year was in Nairobi, and so a few of us were able to attend. Andrew, Max, Nathan Parker, and I were able to attend and put on a couple of panels to, again, share more information about open source hardware as commons and bring it into the conversation. And we made a lot of great connections there, and we're seeing more the fruits of those connections continuing as we move forward. So I was really glad that everybody was able to come to that, and that we were able to make that connection between these groups.
Thanks, and I think it's going to, it is something really quite novel that we're proposing here. We will find out whether that project has been funded in, we hope, about February or March time, and if it starts, if it goes ahead, it will start in July and run for a couple of years. It's quite a sizable chunk of funding, so it's something we're quite keen to hear about. I'm putting into the chat, although I'm putting it in a rather messy place, a list of some of the outputs that we're expecting from that project. Whether or not that gets funded, these are the kind of things that we want to be doing anyway as an alliance. We want to be able to be doing more work around communicating the outputs, growing the community, a technology strategy and roadmap, a more participatory process for the development of some of the standards, and actually registering a charity, a foundation in the United States is part of it. So I've put a few of I've literally copied some of the content from the bid and put it into the chats, a series of bullet points there. And if I could ask my colleagues to sort of put some headings and things in to make it clear what those bullet points are. But like I say, we hope to do those anyway, whether or not we get this funding. It gives you a sense of what we're thinking as the Alliance team. Right. Any questions on that? If not, we can talk a little bit about what we're planning for the next bit of work. So we're separating out content and the process of building the internet of production. And what we've just talked about is investing in the process. Now I want to talk a little bit about the content, about some of what we've been doing so far is creating standards and collaboratively creating standards, going back to 2018, 2019. Max, our technology coordinator, has done a lot of thinking about this, and I think we've got a lot of feedback from the community as well, looking at the challenges of adopting some of these standards and really what's needed next. And even from my personal experience presenting the internet of production, people put their hands up and say, great, so how can I use it? And our focus, therefore, for 2024, we think, is we're going to start moving to invest in the development of open tools, not necessarily just open standards, but open tools that bring the standards to life. And this is inspired a little bit by Max's work on the open know-how portability tooling, the solid pods, and some of the importers and things that we were developing this year, but also Antonio's work on the map of machines as well. And we want to involve the community in and fund the community, if I may say so, those who are working on open tools that can be shared, to bring that, to develop these tools and bring them forward, to bring it to life a bit, because I know there are a number of projects in our alliance which are quite struggling for funding right now. So an angle that we're taking on this is that the open hardware movement needs what might be called in a university or a company context an OSPO, an open source, I've got the spelling wrong, open source project office, an OSPO, an open source project office. So we're looking to create a system within our team for investing in and then shepherding and guiding a number of initiatives around tools for the Internet of Production. So we're moving away from standards in 2024 towards focusing on tools. And we are speaking to a number of partners about this, notably groups that were involved in the Interfacer project in Hamburg. And some of you may know them, but that's groups like the Open Toolchain Foundation, the groups like, there was an initiative called Git Building, some excellent work on documentation tools. And we need to invest quite a lot in some of our machine mapping capabilities as well. We're looking at distributed contracting too, and there's a group called Dyn that was involved in the Internet of Production, in the Interfacer project, which we'd like to try and work with as well. Again, we're putting together a large bid, but even if that doesn't get funded, we're essentially using that as a shopping list of what we'd like to do in 2024. We haven't written the bid yet, and we've had a number of meetings going back even to March this year in Hamburg about what that bid might contain. Now that the project's finished, we're ready to submit something. If you have ideas, please bring them up in the discussion, which is coming up next on the agenda, or put them into the chat, and we might be able to, see if there's ways that we can incorporate some of your thinking into that funding bid. One of the things we'd like to do, if we move on to the Innovative Manufacturing in Africa project, we're looking to renew that funding to focus on makerspaces in Africa. It's likely to continue to be the 3 countries we're currently working in, Ghana, South Africa, and Kenya, but it might go a bit further than that. It depends on the resources available from the donor. What we're looking at doing, and with Joseph's collaboration as well from the African Makerspace Network, is invest in the ecosystem, which is what the RISA bid is interested in, RISA fund is interested in, around makerspaces. So we're looking at supporting the African Makerspace Network in a larger way next year. We're looking at connecting some of the distributed manufacturing trials that we've been doing to online platforms, so that the project doesn't need to exist for people to win orders. And we're going to be doing essentially a very basic trial of that. We're looking at the connection between makerspaces and their local universities. So a lot of universities have a lot of machine tools, and in many African countries, or at least my experience in Kenya has been that those machines aren't used for most of the year, apart from when that lesson on machining takes place. Now, there are universities that are interested in making use of those machines. So we're thinking of bringing them into the map of manufacturers and creating connections between the makerspaces and the 70 lathes that they might have at a nearby university, so that prototype can go into production to support local SMEs. We're looking at ideas like that. We're looking at publishing papers on makerspace management and systems integration for makerspaces. We're looking at writing up some of the work we've done, say in the mentoring program that Sarah has been managing for makerspaces on research capacity this year, so that it can be replicated in the future. And we're looking at creating a sort of systems map for distributed manufacturing in Africa. There's a few different ideas that we're putting into it. We're looking to expand our work on business models, and you'll hear more about that in the upcoming community call with Anna Lowe, who's been working on some of the business models work that we've been doing in that project. One of the things we really want to do next year in 2024 is launch the new brand, as I've mentioned, but also, more than anything else, use that brand to grow our membership and to attract more funding into the Alliance. A lot of what I've been talking about so far is project funding. And anyone who's worked in the not-for-profit sector knows that you can only take on so many projects before things get really hard, particularly on the cash flow front, but then just grant management front as well. And I've had experience of this a couple of times in my career, the last 20 years. We don't want, in the long run, to be an organization that depends on grants and that only does projects. We'd like to be able to be the masters of our own destiny. So we're looking to develop new kinds of funding streams through membership and through sponsorships, through major donors. And we see our new brand as a beginning of a process of reaching out to those audiences. Great. That's some of our thinking at the moment about what we might do. Let's have a 10-minute discussion on what you might want us to do next year. So I think if you go on to the next slide, oh yeah, I think it might actually just be the community link as well, the shared notes link. Yeah, it is. It's the same link. So I'd like to kick off the discussion. Does anybody have any reactions from what I've said so far? Anything you think is blindingly obvious that we've missed that we need to be thinking about doing in 2024? Yeah, feel free to unmute if you've got any thoughts or comments.
If I can, I just added in the chat something about the MEC project and the objective for 2024. We will be testing the different tools that we are developing. So the Makeup Passport, the map of machinery, and the distributing contracting systems. So we are really looking for makerspaces, makerspace networks, makers to participate, to join us, to test the different infrastructure that we are putting in place. We will be testing how can we contract a production to different makerspaces, to different fab labs in Europe and Africa. So yeah, we are looking for anyone, if you can share the word around you, we're looking for makerspaces and makers to participate. I've put the email address in the chat, so don't hesitate to contact us. Yes, that's what I wanted to add.
Thanks, Jessica.
Thank you.
So unless anybody wants to make an intervention, I might actually just pick on somebody. I was thinking of asking you, Ricardo, someone who's been involved in the Global Innovation Gathering directly. You know, we've been collaborating on a couple of projects. What your thoughts are on what we should be doing in 2024?
I think to explore this business model, you thought is a great collaboration, you know, because it's something everyone is always following on like a holy grail. So it's like when we have the same thing, you know, now, you know, how can we survive? We depend on projects. We want to have some kind of sustainability, no matter how, you know, and especially partly based on the work Anna has made this last year, you know, for the business models. What can be shrinked from there, you know? How can you macerate that to become a business model for bigger organizations or for networks itself? So probably there are more things, but I'm really thinking this could be really interesting, you know, to say, look, we have a different way.
Absolutely, thank you. Yeah, there will be a community call on business models, and I might suggest to Anna that we have some ideas around, you know, doing more mentoring, doing more one-to-one support, but maybe we can have a discussion in that call as well about, you know, what people are looking for. We know there's a lot of interest in that area. So, Ricardo, I don't know how many came from your country, from Brazil, but we did a call for mentoring on the business models recently, and it was 10 times oversubscribed, more than 10 times oversubscribed. You know, there's a lot of interest in that area. So thanks for drawing attention to it. Yeah, we'll soup that up a bit in the plans for next year. Thank you. Would anyone else like to make some comments or suggestions for ideas for 2024?
okay, the mapping, I have more ideas. Where's the camera? I think the mapping can be super improved. You know, we've been discussing this in Gig as well, and together with Antonio and Jessica, a lot of people engage in this, and there are some maps around, a lot of maps. So no plan, no focus on where to go. So maybe create this strategy for this innovation atlas, the partners to be on it, and to assume that the organization of this atlas can be super cool as well.
Absolutely, thanks. The one of the things
now I mute. Now I mute.
You're very welcome, Ricardo. It's okay. One of the things that we're keen to do is work more with makerspace networks. We'd even had the idea that what we might do, since the Make project will be coming to an end in early 2025, is that we might see if the Internet of Production Alliance can take on a responsibility or a role in convening the national and international makerspace networks that exist. So we already work very closely with the Fab Foundation and the International Fab Lab community. We're working closely with AMN, and I believe, Jessica, you're working with the Association of Hubs in Germany, for example. But there are also, thematic networks of makerspaces, such as the Resilience Collective or the Global Open Science Hardware Community, which has, associated with it, bio fab labs, bio labs that do production as well. So we're thinking about ways that we could have a role in organizing that community, but it's hard enough to get funding for an ecosystem, let alone an ecosystem of ecosystems. So we'll see how that goes. It might be the kind of thing that we could interest some major donors in. Any other comments or ideas? And you're very welcome to write requests and ideas in the meeting notes as well. And we have a message from Mohammed that in your Fab Lab, Angola Fab Lab, that you'd be interested in participating in the tests in the future. That's actually the kind of thing exactly what we're looking for in the Make project. So we'll definitely keep that in mind, and we'll make sure that your name is part of the handover to Barbara Shack whilst Jessica goes on maternity leave. Thank you. Okay, keep it coming, keep in touch. If there are other ideas that you want to share with us, if there are ideas that you and your organization want to pursue. So for example, I'm in touch with Alex about funding opportunities to see what we can do next on the electronics components standard that he's done some work on. There's a couple of different funding opportunities available to us there. But if you and your organization are looking to collaborate, because when you collaborate with other organizations, you can potentially not only have a greater impact, but you can seek more resources as well together. So please do get in touch if you'd like to collaborate with us in 2024. And thanks, Antonio, for your comment. Absolutely. One of the things I'm quite interested in doing, maybe this isn't part of the Internet of Production, but in other work, is looking at some of the blockers for makerspaces and for, say, 3D printers in Africa, the import regulations. So I'm going to plug the sessions that Joseph is running again on policy, because importing 3D printer filament in many countries, in many developing countries, is really hard to do. It can be really hard to do, and it can be a real barrier to the development of local manufacturing and the maker movement. So yeah, do get involved in Joseph's sessions as well. There's some links there, some social media there if you want to keep in touch. The community notes will be open for a little while. We'll share the call recording and some of the notes, the slides in that, and do get in touch with us if you if there's anything else you want to add. I'm going to put my personal, my own email address in the chat. And I think, unless there's anything else, Jessica, that's it for today.
Yes.
Well,
I will also, yeah.
Is this going to be your last community call, Jessica, before your maternity leave, or are you joining us next month?
I know it will be my last one, unfortunately, but I will watch the next community calls. I want to watch specifically the business model next December, so I will be, yeah, I'll be following.
Do we have a date for that community call?
Yes, it will be December 12th, and so we will share the event and registration link very soon. So
thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of the day. Thanks for joining.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye for now.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.